ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm David Marsland, and this is the Leader Weekends. Every Saturday, we bring you a bonus episode of our business podcast, How to Be a CEO. This is a cut-down version, so hit the link in the show notes to hear the full thing, or search your podcast provider for How to Be a CEO. There are new episodes every Monday morning. When Raphael Sofoluke came up with the idea of the Black Business Show, an opportunity for black entrepreneurs to meet, network and show off their companies, there was, in some quarters, skepticism.
Now it sounds kind of ludicrous and crazy. Someone said, is there even enough black businesses for you to do this show year on year? Literally there's, we have hundreds of black-owned businesses. We can't actually fit all of our black-owned businesses into our show.
Now, that one show is part of Black Business Week. Around 15,000 attendees are expected this year to see speakers including Stephen Bartlett, Dr. Anne-Maria Maffedon and Frank Bruno at venues across London in October. It's one of the biggest events of the year, and get this, it started as a side hustle.
So I would go to work, get up at 6, be at work for 9, do a full working day, and then start working on my business from like 7 p.m, probably finish that around 1 a.m, get back up again. So it was a huge, the hours I put in was crazy.
I'm David Marsden from the Evening Standard. The Black Business Show started in 2017. It's now the biggest event of its kind in the UK and Europe. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's so crazy because a lot of people say that they're like, oh, it hasn't been that long since you started, but it really feels so long for me.
I bet it does.
The amount of changes that have taken place, the growth, the development of our conference. But yeah, set up in 2017, we had for our first one around 25 stands and 500 attendees. Small for our first one. Now the UK Black Business Show is a part of also a whole week of events, so UK Black Business Week.
I mean, you talked about it being small, but 500 people isn't that small. There was clearly a demand for something like this. Why hadn't it been done before, Raphael?
Oh, 100%. There definitely was a demand. For myself, I was surprised it hadn't been done as well, actually, when I thought of it. Not only was I the target audience, because I was creating it for myself, really, but, in business, if there's something that's a problem sometimes for you, then the likelihood is that there's other people like you out there as well. So when we launched, I booked the space for 25 stands, but in that first year, we actually got inquiries from 300 black-owned businesses to exhibit. But we couldn't increase because I had already paid it, and also I didn't have the money to pay for a bigger space. So very kind of early on, I kind of knew that there was a big demand. People were really excited about it, just about the opportunity to be in an environment with like-minded black entrepreneurs and professionals. I mentioned it before when I was kind of working for a company or I was going to different events. There would be so many times I would be like the only black person in the room. And I talk about role models a lot as well, and how, it's good a lot of my business role models growing up were the people like Richard Branson, Alan Sugar, all the kind of business people that you would see on TV, when actually it's also important to have business role models that also look like you, who've come from the same background, whether you're, a black business owner looking at, black role models, whether you're a woman looking at, women role models. It's really important. So, I hope this is a show that actually is, showcasing role models now and giving that younger generation a bit of, inspiration.
Is that the importance of having a space like this exclusively for black businesses? Because as you've said, you've gone to lots of conferences and there have been black faces there, but not predominantly. Is it important to have that thing that people can walk in and go, yeah, I can do this?
Oh, 100%. So our slogan for the UK Black Business Show was to inspire and connect. So to create connections, but also that inspiration, to be inspired when you go there, whether you're a black entrepreneur, whether you're a black professional, to come out of there feeling, actually, I can do this as well. I can become a multi-million pound business as well. I can get to a senior position in my company. And the connections is also so important. We've got some great stories of people attending our show last year and then getting a job at JP Morgan. Or we've had some great stories of people finding their business partners at our 2018 show and now they've got really successful businesses together. So essentially, our shows are really, really changing people's lives by, those networking opportunities, those connections, but also just feeling inspired as well.
I feel like there's a good scaling up story in here, because you talked about having those 25 stands and then 300 people are trying to get a space in there. So very, very quickly, you must have had to scale things up. How did you do that? How did you go, right, okay, so here's what we had. It's bigger than what I thought it was going to be, and next year's going to be even bigger. Did you have a moment going, like, what do I do now? Or did you just go, right, we're going to do this?
For us, there's that pressure every year. Not only is it kind of people come away, they love the show, and they're like, how are you going to top it next year? And then you're like, oh my gosh, like you've had this person this year, how are you going to top it? You've got Stephen Bartlett this year, who are you going to get next? It's loads of kind of different pressures, but some of the things that I focus on is, execution, excellence, and longevity. Those are like my three kind of mantras. So, we get the feedback as well from attendees, from exhibitors, from sponsors on how we can improve the show. And literally, I was just kind of reinvesting my money year on year. So using the money from the ticket sales, the sponsorship, the exhibitors as well to continue to grow and to continue to market it. I think 2020 to 2021 was my full kind of it was when I created the UK Black Business Week, and I had the opportunity also to kind of properly go full time, because for a long time I was doing it part time as well. So I was juggling work as well, which is a lot of people didn't know that, because it was so big. People didn't understand that I was doing it part time, but I was literally going to work. And at that time, people were still traveling to work every day. So I would get up at 6, be at work for 9, do a full working day. And maybe at lunch, I'm sneaking out to speak to a sponsor in the hotel nearby, getting back home, having my dinner, and then starting working on my business from like 7 p.m. Probably finish that around 1 a.m., get back up again. The hours I put in was crazy while I was doing it part time. Yeah. But I got into a really kind of good position by 2020 to 2021 to be able to hire a full-time team. And now I've got a team kind of doing a number of different things. We've got a COO underneath me, marketing manager, operations, sales, and loads of people that help out on the day. So it's been a real journey to kind of get to that full-time kind of business owner, entrepreneur, and CEO. I feel like now, like the last few years, I can now fully call myself a CEO. Because I felt like I was calling myself founder and CEO, but I didn't have anyone that worked for me.
I'm the CEO of me.
Yeah, founder and CEO of like myself, but yeah, now I've got kind of a big team, and it's a different dynamic having a team, coming into the office every day with your team, managing performance and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a great journey. I love what I do as well. So it's definitely rewarding.
I think it's wild that the Black Business Show basically started as a side hustle.
Yeah.
That seems to be completely bonkers to me, because you've got all these people coming in here, and this was just like a thing you were doing on the side.
Yeah, exactly. It's really so interesting you use that term, because I'm actually working on something with that, like that whole idea premise about kind of side hustling, etc. And, it coming into like a full-time business, etc., like a little kind of blog. But yeah, again, I always knew the potential. I think it's really interesting when we think of like business ideas. Some of the best businesses have been created out of that, either frustration or inspiration. Yeah. So even things like, I think a guy called Zhang Koom, I think he was the creator of WhatsApp. And I think he was like frustrated about not being able to update people about where he was when he was at the gym. I think, if you research into it, it's really interesting. So there's so many ideas that have been created out of that, frustration or, inspiration. And literally that was it. I wanted to create that space for myself, but also by creating that space for myself, I was also helping so many other people like me who also needed it as well.
That was Raphael Sofoluke, founder and CEO of The Black Business Show. For more news, interviews and analysis, check out the Evening Standard newspaper or go to standard.co.uk/business.